Recording this podcast, on a Wednesday, a day later than normal. Had some stuff, new equipment, some stuff to get figured out. So certainly my apologies for being a day late, but we are here now, episode 1046. Jay-Z to the rescue. We will get to that later on in the podcast. But first, we have a ton of stuff to get to in regards to the NCAA tournament and the NBA. Let's begin with a new era in North Carolina basketball that is soon coming. Hubert Davis is out as the head coach of North Carolina. He 5 years, uh, two Sweet 16s, Final Four appearance, coming off just an embarrassing loss to VCU, blowing one of the largest the largest lead that North Carolina team has blown in their history in the NCAA tournament. This is obviously no surprise. I thought that this frankly took too long, to be honest with you. He was going. The game was over last Thursday, and this happens on a Tuesday. Probably could have got done out the way this weekend, to be honest with you. But I guess a situation where he is beloved by the Carolina family, by the university, and they wanted to make it seem like it, didn't want to just outright announce that he got fired. But in essence, that's exactly what this is. Um, Listen, this was not Brad Daugherty here with Hubert Davis. He did go to a national championship game in 2022. Of course, blew the 15-point lead to Kansas as an eighth seed. Beat Duke twice that year. Retired Coach K. Um, and gets to a Sweet 16 the 2 years later as a number one seed before bowing out to Alabama. Um, he was a good coach. He was a solid to good coach. But solid to good is not good enough at North Carolina. Before we get into the possible future of North Carolina, I just wanted to address this idea of the North Carolina culture and how it's gotten to a point to where Carolina has been drunk on its own supply as a university when it comes to their basketball culture. And the reason why I say this is, listening to some of the stuff, how this story was talked about, discussed. Yeah, there's some recognition that North Carolina is. One thing I heard from the Inside Carolina podcast, before when Hubert Davis was hired, it was about the right. They made the right hire versus the best hire, and this time they have to make the best hire, the best hire versus the right hire. I think at this point the best hire is the right hire, but and the reason why there's a separation there is they down there they are obsessed with the way things have been running for the past 65 years. Um, the Carolina way is not just a book by Dean Smith. It is a lifestyle when it comes to basketball culture down there. I don't think. Listen, I've been rooting for North Carolina for close to It'll be 40 years in next year in 2027. Being a North Carolina basketball fan. That idea of family, that idea of keeping things in the house, it's a real thing. It's a real thing down there. Unfortunately, that's not tradition. That family, that mom and pops situation, that shit just doesn't fly in 2026. It just doesn't. Um, Tradition means nothing when it comes to college sports in 2026. How much NIL money can you pay Okay, how are you going to get me to the NFL to either get drafted by the NBA or by the NFL? Can you, what kind of, you have to run. This is a professional outfit that you have to run if you are if you want to win at the highest levels in college sports in 2026. The Carolina way does not. You can't have both at the same time. You can't. It can't be the Carolina way and you evolving to a way to the way things have to run to have to be now. You can't have both. And what I heard down there, what I've heard even today in listening to some stuff, uh, that they're already talking about the next coach. Not even the next coach, the coach following this coach. Like, it, like they're talking about Marcus Page. Like, hey, Marcus, he's only 30. He's been an assistant. He has great potential, and maybe in 12 to 14 years after he goes somewhere, comes back, he can come back here. And it's like, so they're still again, they are still fixated on this culture of Carolina basketball and who is a Carolina guy, and even to a point where they were like, yeah, let's get the best coach and then mold him into a North Carolina guy. It sound like some like cult type shit, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see this is the most important. Like they have to nail this next hire. This is the most important hire I would say in one of the most important hires in since Dean. I mean, eventually Roy Williams was going to come back. Was going to come back at some point. At some point, I believe maybe since Roy Williams, because if Roy Williams doesn't come back in 2003, I don't know where Carolina basketball ends up. They were in. They were like Matt Doherty really left the pro. Really, I mean, they had talent. He left them with talent as far as recruiting, but he really uh program was in horrible shape from an image standpoint, and from just it just didn't end well with him. So that Roy Williams wanting to come back, uh, saved them for like the better part of like almost Roy was there from what 04 to 2020, like 16 years. So Roy Williams bailed them out with that. But this in-house the hiring situation has not worked for them. Uh, let's put Roy Williams aside. Going in house and staying within the family, shit hasn't worked. Darty was a miserable failure. Hubert Davis, not a failure because he did go to one Final Four, but a major disappointment. And you cannot operate with NIL, with roster construction, with having to have a general manager, having to transfer portal, all this stuff you have to navigate. The Carolina way does not can the two cannot coexist. It has to be winning has to be first. So Carolina wants to win the Carolina way. Now, we want to win, but we want to do it the Carolina way. That's just when it comes to winning and when it comes to how things are done in 2026, it's winning first. If you want to win at the highest levels, there's no one way. There's one way for it to be done from a standpoint of things are run in 2026. And I'm not sure. Again, this is still obviously a attractive job. I'm sure that they will get someone who um, that they will get that they're gonna get the shiny toy as far as the head coach. They're gonna have to get the big splash. They can't. It's not. You can't get the guy who's. You can't take a risk on. They can't have a risk hire per se. You have to have somebody with an established track record. Uh, you know, Todd Golden, uh, what they want to say, Dustin May, Mark Few. It has to be that Billy Donovan. Some of the names. It has to be that level of coach. But again, I think that this. I think North Carolina really is struggling to move past their tradition. They're having a difficult time. They're having a very difficult time doing that. To be honest with you, when you hear some of the talk that was coming out after this it was done, they acknowledged the fact that yeah, probably had to be done. We get it, but that way of doing things with tradition just doesn't carry weight. Like these kids that you're getting that you're bringing in don't care about. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit uh about you know Dean Smith or even Roy Williams for that name for that Roy Williams for that matter. Like those guys, like Dean Smith passed away in I think 2000. At least Dean Smith's been dead for at least 15 years, maybe longer. I forgot what year Dean Smith passed away. Over 10 years, Dean Smith has passed away. Roy Williams now has been retired for 5 years. Um, they don't. It's a whole new world out here, and it seems to me like Carolina is still struggling with that transition. Now, um, if you want to win major college sports right now, you approach it as a business and then move forward. All that the other pageantry, the other traditions, and all that other shit means nothing. I don't care about freshmen carrying the water bottles and all that, or senior night, the senior starting, all that stuff. Listen, that's very nice. That's nice, and it had its time. You had 65 years of that. You had 65 plus years of that. And if they can't move past their own tradition, they're going to continue to find themselves in these situations. Um, because if I'm a new coach, if I'm coming into that situation, I'm here to win. I'm not here to be a Carolina guy. I'm sorry. I'm here to win championships. Period. I'm here to get to the Final Four, win championships. Everything outside that, then you can kiss my ass. I'm sorry. I'm like you molding today's coach or a successful coach into who you think they are, who you think they should be based on the traditions of the past. That shit is not gonna fly. It's not. You're not gonna get a top notch coach and try to mold them into this culture uh, of Carolina basketball. They don't like they'll whoever it is, whoever gets hired as the next coach, they'll come out there and say all the right stuff for the press conference, hey, the tradition, and I watch Coach Williams and of course Dean Smith, and they'll give you that political spiel that that media coaches. They'll give you that the Carolina history course a little bit, at least the Cliff Notes version of it on the press conference. But ultimately, they're there. They're there to win championship, to establish themselves as top coaches and to win multiple championships and things of that nature. They're not caring or caring about the traditions of Chapel Hill. I'm sorry, that's just not how. Again, that's just not how it works. And I just wonder. Again, this is one of the more important hires that this school has ever had. At least at worst, the most important hire in the last 20 years. Maybe I can make a case the most important hire since Dean Smith in 1961. That's how vital this hire is for North Carolina basketball. With this. They cannot miss with this particular hire. You can't. When you look at how college basketball is right now, you really with how with the transfer portal with rosters being turned over left and right, some 4 or 5 players at times, some even more so than that. It used to be a time where you could like have a style of play or have a system, and that was your system, and you would play to that for coaches would play to that for like 15, 20 years, however long they were there. If you got to a certain level, Jim Boeheim, the Syracuse, the 2-3 zone, John Chaney, the matchup zone, Bob Knight, the motion offense, Roy Williams and Dean Smith, both fast paced, fast break basketball, 40 minutes of hell. If you're talking about Nolan Richardson, that's no longer the case in college basketball. College basketball now, you have to be malleable to where you got to be able to play any type of style to be continually, consistently successful because you don't know what your roster is going to look like from year to year. Like if you have a good, even if you have a great team, chances are you have a Final Four caliber team. Chances are those guys are going to go pro, or some of those guys are going to look for other opportunities, regardless of the success and transfer. I mean, that's the world. That's the world where that's where we're at right now. I mean, there's some players transferring. I'm sure Indiana won the national championship. They're going to lose some players. Not a lot. I'm talking about Indiana football. That is Ohio State. I mean, even the top schools in college football and college basketball are lose players to the transfer portal. Everybody wants to play. Everybody, more importantly, not only wants to play. Everybody wants to get paid. Everybody wants to get paid. So I think. Listen, I still think North Carolina is a legit top five, top three job. They will get high profile coach. Um, we'll see what transpires moving forward. As far as Hubert Davis goes, it normally does not turn out well for guys who get these high profile jobs, blue blood jobs, and struggle. Matt Doherty, Billy Gillispie, um, number of guys have gotten these types of jobs and didn't work out for them, lost them, and basically nowhere to be found. Kevin Ollie won a championship with UConn, and you know where's Kevin Ollie at right now? So it's almost like I think Hubert Davis will coach again, but it'll probably be at mid major. I'm not gonna say Division 2. It'll be at a D. It'll be at a division. I think it'll be at Division 1, but he's gonna have to like kind of rebuild his reputation uh, if he wants to get back to anywhere near the level of coaching at a school. Forget about North Carolina, but even like I mean, shit, even like somewhere like a Clemson or somewhere a school of that level, or Arizona State or something like that. Like I said, it does not turn out well a lot of times for these dudes who lose jobs, who get who lose jobs from blue blood schools. From blue blood schools, you can go look at the history, look it up for yourself. The deep dive. The San Antonio Spurs right now playing some of the best basketball in the NBA right now. Matter of fact, since February 1st, San Antonio is 22-2. They have the best point differential. They're fourth in offensive rating, third in defensive rating, and the number one reason because the number one reason for this has been simply the just spectacular play of one Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama at 22 years old is going to finish this year top three in MVP. If he plays the requisite amount of games, he will win Defensive Player of the Year going away, probably unanimously, and will be first team All NBA and has a chance to finish his season, depending on how far the Spurs go, as the best player in the world. The best player in the world title is kind of up for grabs right now. If you ask me right now, who would I choose right now at this moment? Probably SGA. Not only as MVP, but as the best player in the world. But it's up for grabs. It really is. Between SGA, Wembanyama, and certainly the Joker is still certainly absolutely in that conversation as well. Um, so a couple things on Wembanyama. His his offensive rating when he's on the floor, 120.3. His defensive rating when he's on the floor is at a 103.5. Out of a possible 40 lineups, different lineups that San Antonio has played between 5 man, 4 man, 3 man, 2 man, only two of those lineups were in the negative out of 40 that he was a part of. Um, opponents are shooting 10% under their regular average in terms of field goal percentage when he's been guarded by them. He is redefining defensive impact on defensive basketball. He really is. You cannot measure his impact on um, stats. Can't add and stats can't just don't tell the story about. Despite all the analytics and despite these ratings that I just gave you, it just doesn't tell the story about how he impacts the game from a defensive standpoint. It really doesn't. I think that teams are just scared to go inside the paint. You look what teams were shooting are shooting against him on against the Spurs on 2 point shots on points inside the paint. Um, it is remarkable what he does to teams, what he does to teams psychologically during the course of the game. I remember a couple of weeks ago, did a podcast and what he did to the Pistons in Detroit in a game where he didn't shoot the ball well. Had to like the you know had the I think it was like 21 had like 21 17 and like 4 or 5 blocks. And again, the altered shots, everything, there are stats that they're going to have to come up with a defensive stat to really actually measure what his true impact is defensively. Because the regular reason, even though with all these numbers that we do have, it still does not tell the complete story of how dominant he is on the defensive end. As dominant of a player that I've ever seen defensively. Like, and I've seen Dennis Rodman, I've seen Scottie Pippen, I've seen Akeem Olajuwon, um, Kawhi Leonard, guys like that. He changes everything defensively. Like he changes the whole. This must have been like if Bill Russell was 7 feet, was 7'3" or something like that. Just some of the stuff that he just being able to control the game in an offensive era. Remember, this is a we're in a offensive era in terms of pace, in terms of scoring. You got Bam Adebayo dropping 83 points in the game. These guys, like a number of guys, 3 or 4 guys score 70 points. 4 or 5 guys score 70 points in the last 6 or 7 years. So this is a prime offensive triple doubles. Guys getting triple doubles left and right. So he's doing this in the offensive. It's not like this is not like the early, you know, mid 2000s or late 90s when offense went into the tank and when we started getting these scores, 80 to 75 in the playoffs. Go look back at some of those playoff scores in the 2004 2005 playoffs. Some of the ugliest basketball that you'll ever see. From a just the game was a slog, and that's why some of the rules had to be changed. So the question is, despite the fact that this team does not have, as a team, as a group, have no playoff wins. They have one guy that's has a championship, Harrison Barnes, but he's not a major contributor to their teams. It's a fringe rotation player at best. Their core is young. Most of their core isn't even old enough. He's barely over the age of 23. They have 2 core guys over the age of 28. I think De'Aaron Fox and Keldon Johnson. And normally it takes a team a couple years, a couple swings at the plate to take those necessary steps to get to the NBA Finals and possibly win a championship. Can it be that this guy is so special, that this team is so connected that they could kind of break that mold and kind of surprise us and win a championship this year? They're certainly in the conversation as a team that could possibly win the title contender. They're one of, I think they're, I want to say there are three teams, um, three teams in a possible that could win a championship. Uh, the possible would be Boston. Still need to see more out of Jason Tatum before I'm ready to put them put them at a level at that level who a team as a team who can win a championship. They can certainly get to the finals. But you have Oklahoma City, you have Denver, and you have San Antonio. You have Denver. I mean Denver and San Antonio. I still put Denver ahead of San Antonio based off the experience factor. Those are the three teams. Those are it. And when you have a guy that is one of the best players on the planet and can dominate a game defensively, then you're gonna be in a conversation. You're gonna absolutely have a chance. Remember, in the postseason, um, scoring goes down. The game gets more physical. Over the last half decade, scoring has gone down in the playoffs anywhere from six to 9 points, and that favors defense. That favors defense. So you know, playoffs come down to shot creation, defense, experience. And, we'll see if San Antonio, they're going to have to execute in the fourth quarter of these games. Um, I'm going to be curious to see these playoffs in general because I think there's going to be a distinct difference between the postseason basketball, regular season basketball, and postseason basketball due to how many injuries that we've had over the course of the season. Some of those players are going to be coming back. Um, and that's why I don't put. I know Oklahoma City, San Antonio doesn't have any fear of Oklahoma City, but I don't put all the stock in the world in terms of those five regular season matchups. But San Antonio, this guy is special enough to have me reconsidering what I would say is a year where they can't win the championship. I don't believe they will win the championship, but I can't no longer say I can no longer I can't say, hey, this team can't win it. I just can't say that anymore. They have gone out there and mauled teams, and they have just a number of young, talented athletes, wing players, uh, and they love this guy. These guys love playing with each other. They absolutely love playing with each other and have great chemistry. Up to this point, more so than most normal young teams, even who are seemingly together. So we'll see what happens. Um, and they actually have a chance. They have a possibility of catching Oklahoma City. Um, and, in terms of best record in the West as of right now, they are 3 games behind OKC, and they do have the tiebreaker. As far as college basketball goes, if you're college basketball, you couldn't have asked for a better weekend or a better opening round. College basketball set tournament records for opening round in terms of the ratings. The best start, as far as from a rating standpoint, since 2011. You have a you had a number of you had a number of close games. You didn't have too many upsets. You have still a lot of star power left, a lot of brand power left. Duke, Michigan, UConn. You have some UConn. You still have some big names left. John Calipari in terms of coaching ranks, Patino. So everything went right for college basketball. Number one, um, even the one number one seed you lost, Florida, which was a defending national championship. Florida is a national program, but Florida is not a television brand per se. If you're going to lose any of the number one seeds, Florida would have been the one to lose. To be perfectly honest with you, that would have been the one where you could afford to lose, where you say, we can afford to lose that particular number one seed. And you have some tantalizing matchups in the Sweet 16. Duke St. John's, Patino versus Duke is always that has of course some deep history like with 1992. That Alabama, that Arizona Arkansas game has game of the tournament possibility on the table. UConn, Michigan State with those two coaches and level of intensity that game, how physical that game has a chance to be. Um, and there are two teams that can still. There are two non under the not under the radar, but there are two teams that are off the top three lines. That I think have a legit chance to possibly win a national championship and get to a Final Four. And I will keep my eyes on Alabama and Arkansas. Arkansas plays Arizona. Um, Alabama, Alabama will face off against Michigan. So those are two. Listen, don't be surprised by any stretch of imagination if not, if it, at least one of those teams I think will advance, if not both of them. Both Alabama and Arkansas both have a chance to advance in this tournament. Against those number one seeds. Um, College sports. Listen, for all the shit talking that you've heard about college sports this year, with the transfer portal, with the NIL, with guys, 6 year seniors coming back, being eligible, with all the shit talking that you've heard, we had one of the best college football seasons we've seen in a decade, right? Incredible playoffs, okay, from top to bottom. Great bowl season, okay, from top to bottom. Now we get a week opening weekend of NC. We get an opening weekend of the NCAA tournament where you're setting ratings records, and now you have a Sweet 16 that frankly has a chance to be epic. So all those who live in college sports, you kind of gotta like shut the fuck up for at least another week or at least a couple more weeks because college sports. I mean, from August all up until now, college sports has kind of been winning in a major way. Football and basketball have been tremendous over the course of the season. It was a great college basketball season. Think about the freshman class we just watched this year, and all those guys that are going to be going in the top five picks. And we still have a couple guys, still have a couple of those guys left for Duke and Arkansas, and Arizona. So and Houston as well. So I mean, listen, you'll hear these and get. I'm not going to get into the political and all the Trump shit with what they're talking about with the college NIL and all Nick Saban. But right now, college sports is shutting everybody up who has had some complaints in regards to their possible future. I'm gonna leave you with on Real Thoughts. Jay Z did an interview with GQ's Fraser Tharp, um, and it so it was. Listen, it's hard for me to destroy an interview. I understand that the young man he can't be old. He's probably in his early 30s. Seems like he's in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. I'm not gonna say this interview was a bad interview, um, but this was a mismatch as far as experience. Jay Z, this was an interview. Well, Jay Z was almost interviewing himself in a sense. It gave way that type of feeling to me to where Jay Z. It seemed like Jay Z was in total control of the interview. Um, the guy clearly was enamored with Jay Z. He's clearly a fan of Jay Z, which is fine to be a fan. I would like to see somebody with some little bit more seasoning interview of Jay Z. But some of the things that came out of this interview that were interesting was Jay Z defending himself on being a billionaire, but still, pushing back on the capitalist label and what have you. That was kind of funny. Um, but he also had a point about the state of hip hop in regards to battling and beefing the energy that comes from the battles. He addressed the Kendrick Drake battle from 2024 and seemingly ongoing from a Drake standpoint. Kendrick moved on, you know, seemingly in 2025, or even after, or even late 2024 for that matter, after GNX came out. But he mentioned that hip hop is built on four pillars, and three of those pillars are being extinct of graffiti, breakdancing, DJing, and he felt like battling was a part of it, a form of MCing. He feels like that should probably go away as well, considering how toxic it has become, how personal it's become with the social media presence, um, and what have you. I, and I want to say, to be perfectly honest with you, I probably agree. I think I agree with him. Matter of fact, I do agree with him from the standpoint of, you know, the Kendrick Drake moment was historical. It was the biggest battle in the history of hip hop, and that's saying a lot. But it, and in that time, in that moment, it produced some good music. Produced a lot of music, some good music, mostly of course by Kendrick. But what is it like? You know, hip hop's popularity is ratings, not ratings, but it's uh, hip hop is an interesting. I don't know what's hip hop's identity right now. Like, if hip hop isn't about breakdancing, it's not. If it's not about the graffiti, if it's not about DJing, if it's not about battling, then what exactly is the identity of hip hop? That's why I would have had a follow up. I would have asked Jay Z that if I were doing the interview. And I think that hip hop. I think that that is a missing aspect to hip hop right now. That it lacks an identity. That it's kind of been a listen. Last year was a phenomenal year as far as albums to come out, especially for older rappers. What the Clips did, the stuff Nas rapped his ass off last year. Um, it was like, just go look at the Grammy nominations. Tyler the Creator. I mean, it was a great year for hip hop, for rap as far as as far as the quality of albums, no doubt about it. But hip hop is it's an interesting, in a very interesting space right now, because frankly they're not. And I don't again this is where the hip hop media pisses me off. This conversation is not being had. Who are the under 35 superstar male rappers right now that people are checking for in a real way? And they getting their ass kicked by the women. Let's be honest with you. They getting their ass kicked by the Doechis, by the Lottos, by the Cardi B's, even the Meg Thee Stallions. So I think, when I look at what Jay Z is trying to do with this, Roots Picnic in May. He's doing Yankee Stadium July 7th through July 10th through the 12th with the Blueprint, Reasonable Doubt Blueprint celebrations of the 30th and 25th anniversaries of Reasonable Doubt and the Blueprint. I think Jay Z is trying to kind of fill a void. I really think that this comeback, because it's not even about Jay Z has all the pelts on the wall. I mean, Jay Z, is regarded by many to be the greatest rapper of all time. He's a he's a billionaire. He's obviously a mogul, more than a mogul. Just his own brand, and so like I'm thinking about what is the real motivation for Jay Z to do this uh, at this point in his career. I really believe that Jay Z feels I can like I can be a stopgap to hip hop's next situation as far as superstars. Like I can hold it. I can hold it down. It's kind of like I would compare it to a legendary coach coming out of retirement to for a struggling university. Uh, let me just settle this thing until the next. You can bring in the next guy who can then take over. I think Jay Z believes that is coming in his mind to save hip hop, to save rap. He mentioned a lot of negativity that's in rap right now. That was at the genesis of his argument that he's not feeling the whole the battling situation. Um, so I think that is his motivation for to come back. Um, and this is listen, you're talking about someone who is highly intelligent, very strategic. You know, this is the perfect time to do it. Last year, 2024, it was Kendrick and Drake. Okay, that was you're not coming out then. The attention, even though it's Jay Z, it was all about them that in that summer, that whole spring, summer, even into the fall with the Drake lawsuits. 2025, it was the year of Kendrick. Super Bowl, GNX tour, SZA, that whole stadium tour with SZA, the GNX tour. Um, Now is the perfect time. The Kendrick is kind of like that momentum has slowed down a bit, and there's an opening for Jay Z in hip hop right now. There's absolutely an opening for him to come back and say to reannounce himself or to reinvent himself or to let us, or to remind us about who he is and wanting to seek. There's a space for attention that he can gain from the audience right now. It really is, and it just goes to show you that he don't really give a shit about Drake and the possibility of Iceman coming out like that. He could care less about that. Like I have my set audience. A lot of people Drake has a lot of stands, but also a lot of people that don't give a shit about who can't stand Drake as well, who hate Drake. So he absolutely could care less about sharing attention or worrying about whether or not Drake will get more attention than him from that standpoint. So and now that the Drake and Cole have kind of dimmed. I know Cole just released an album, but that next generation is lacking right now in terms of being true rap superstars. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. Enjoy the rest of your week.